So welcome everybody. This is our third Help Save Our World online speakers meeting. I am Dennis Moore, or Dennis the Teacher, and I'm the creator of the Help Save Our World organization, the Help Save Our World People's Movement for fundamental change in our world, and now the Help Save Our World Speakers Group. I will be your host for the next hour and a half. Firstly, I will explain the structure of the meeting. Then I will do brief introductions followed by my speech. Then I will begin having each speaker do their speeches. Depending on the amount of time and the number of people, we will decide how long their speeches will be. Then we'll have a question and answer session, and if there's any more time, maybe a more open discussion. Let's begin with our introductions. Let's start with you, Diane.
Okay. Hi, I'm Diane Perry. I have Earthian Stewardship, which is a nonprofit. And I, too, like Dennis the Teacher, want to see the planet saved. And I look forward to hearing the conversations.
Excellent. Thanks, Diane. John, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. My name is John Labriola. I live in Broward County, Florida. And I met Dennis through another Zoom group, a Toastmasters related Zoom group. And he invited me to attend these meetings. So good morning.
Great. Thanks, John. Olga, it's good to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Great. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Olga Brooks. I live in Massachusetts. In the Boston area, and I got to know Dennis through his book actually, and through the school that I was taking. I got very fond of the mission, and I am reading a book. I'm reading his book, and I stand for very similar cause and purpose in my life. I really would like to expose people, not just women, but men, about femininity and how important feminine mission on this earth is, every single woman. So I would like to stand for that and be out there for the world.
Excellent. Yeah. Thanks so much, Olga. That's awesome. Captain Kirk, are you going to be?
Sorry, Dennis. Yeah, no, I am going to have to leave now because I've got to go back up to Mark. Yeah, I hope you guys have a good meeting. My name is Captain Kirk. Everybody knows me as Captain Kirk. And I met Dennis through his son-in-law. Found that we had a shared love for this planet and wanting to save it. So that's why I have also joined. But I'm going to have to say goodbye now. So guys, enjoy the meeting.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Kirk.
Good. Bye.
Got it.
This is my presentation based on the things that came up last week. Help Save Our World Speak, the people's voices in search of truth and transformation. Change the conversation and we change our world. We cannot live without the balances of nature. Are you right, Diane? We cannot live without the balance of nature.
Yes.
If we keep doing harm to our mother, our ecosystems, our world, we will not survive. What we do to the world, we do to ourselves. Ask not for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. It's an incredibly famous poem by John Donne, where he talks about one clod of dirt falling off the continent of England, actually making the continent a lesser place. But basically he's talking about humans' respect and appreciation for one another. And if one person dies, then we die that little bit. Help Save Our World Speak. Last week, Diana asked, what can we do about the problems of the world? My short answers are, change the way we think and behave and we change our world. Change the way others think and live in the world and we change our world together. Then the most powerful way is to change the way we raise our children, and we'll change the world in one generation. Finally, what we're doing now is change our conversation and we change the world. our conversation being controlled by media and governments and so on, it's so important for people to speak up about what's happening in our world and then going about changing it. If you do not change the hearts and minds of people and their way of life, you're wasting your time, because they will repeat the same mistakes again and again. To be able to change the world, we need to know the hidden secrets of life, of nature. We need to know the truth and the natural wisdom of our world and the universe. What the problems are is really important to know. What caused and continues to cause them. We need to know why, what happened, when, where, and how all of these things happened. We need to fix the causes. Now that's fundamentally important. We need to get right down to the causes of the problems, because if we don't, we're just putting out fires and the jungle will keep on burning. Questioning is so fundamentally important to find the truth. Through questioning, we learn that humanity is the biggest cause of most of our problems in the world. Realizing this, we need to choose to remain the problem or to change and transform our lives. Changing how we think and live our lives, we change our world. There are like 5 secrets of life that we do without knowing we're doing it. We basically plant the seeds of thoughts in our mind. And then we need to choose what thoughts, what things we want to focus on, and then focus on and then practice doing them and manifest the reality we want. But then a really important thing is to have a vision, a guiding light of the future world that we want to live in, and then strive to create that thriving, happy, healthy, sustainable, abundant future. We also need a step-by-step plan to get there. And of course, that's the reason why we're part of this conversation. Through this, you'll manifest the change you were meant to create in this world. Most importantly, this must all happen very fast, or we'll suffer exponentially more and more as we race towards the cliff of extinction. Now, this is a very important concept that came up last week, is the idea of Gaia, Mother Earth. And James Lovelock wrote an incredible book called Gaia. And he defines Gaia as a complex entity involving Earth's biosphere, atmosphere, oceans, and soils, the totality constituting a feedback or cybernetic system which seeks an optimal physical and chemical environment for life on this planet. Now, this whole idea of Gaia and Mother Earth is not a new thing. People who are connected knew it for millennia. And we go back to the origin of Gaia, which is this. Gaia is the ancestral mother of all life, the primal mother, Earth goddess. She is the immediate parent of Uranus, the sky, from whose sexual union she bore the Titans, themselves parents of many of the Olympian gods, and giants of Pontus, the sea, from whose union she bore the primordial sea gods. Now this is from ancient Greek mythology, and of course you can see the ancient philosophies knew this concept of Gaia, Mother Earth. We live on a living, changing planet. She's growing. We live in a changing environment, an atmosphere, the hurricanes, the winds, everything. She is living through her life cycle, balancing our environment while sustaining our life cycles. Within her atmospheric and ocean womb, her ecosystems, she protects and nurtures us. We are expressions of Mother Nature within Mother Nature. You might call this the self-fulfilling prophecy, the secret, collective intent. What you desire, the universe will conspire to provide for you and manifest our reality. There's a link between consciousness and reality. What you ask for, you will receive if your vision and intent is clear and focused. You'll get what you desire. Like all humans and all life desire to live That's fundamental to all of us. So our world is an expression of that desire to perpetuate life. So our world is an ecosystem, a living, changing, moving, balancing, self-regulating, self-cleansing ecosystem. It is creating itself and providing the environment we need to sustain life on it. It is what we are composed of and live within. We are all of this world within this environment, so what we do affects the world we live in. This is like a really important image. It's like geological time, all in 24 hours, like one circle of the clock, or 12 hours. So if you have a look, the actual original formation of the Earth is like 4,500. It's actually, these aren't very accurate numbers, but say 4.5 billion years ago, Earth began to form, the rocks began to form in the Hadean period, Hadean meaning Hades, hell, and they started to form the crust. And at about 4 billion years, first life began, but at about 3.5 billion years, photosynthesis began, and then at 2.3 billion years ago, the atmosphere became oxygenated. You can imagine this exponential curve of life growing and living and dying, and then all of a sudden this explosion of life, and then of course the atmosphere became oxygenated. And you can see how life has been conspiring to ensure that more and more complex life goes on. It's a super interesting diagram. This is an example of the actual evolution of all of the different organisms to where humans are. And you can see that if it wasn't for the oxygenated atmosphere, then none of these more complex life forms would have evolved like they did. And I just want to go back to this. If you have a look at the very, very top, there's this tiny little blip, which is when the time that humans have been on the planet. And it's like 200,000 years. It's like as Homo sapiens, as we are as the species. And of course, the dinosaurs was from 230 million years ago to 65 million years ago. So complex life forms have only existed for this period of time. But us humans, in a very, very short period of time, we have destroyed our world. The primary purpose of all life is to, of course, live, survive, thrive, and to spread the seeds of life to ensure that life goes on. Life gives life to life. We eat every day, but we eat living, like things that we're living, which is plant life and seeds and whatever it is that we eat, all comes from life. So life, each life lives for the perpetuation of life. It's phenomenal if you think about it. Life contributes to the perpetuation of life and the spreading of life, the fertilization of life, the spreading of seeds. The most successful way it is done is through connected giving and receiving healthy, happy relationships, which we call ecosystems. Trees feed one another with their roots, they share the sunlight, and so on. The growth of complex ecosystems, as in jungles and so on, life thrives. Life living in love, balance, and harmony with other life ensures that life goes on. Just to give you an idea of the Earth as a living planet, if you have a look further out into our solar system, you look at Jupiter and Saturn and Uranus and Neptune, and they are these huge gaseous balls receiving sunlight and becoming more dense as they pick up asteroids and so on. But mainly they're energy balls forming from the light from the sun and so on. And they're slowly becoming more and more dense, and eventually they become other planets like Mars, Earth, Venus, and Mercury that are more dense. But Earth has this like particular characteristics that makes it totally unique. Now, this is Pangea. The world is constantly changing. The continents are drifting as the Earth expands and grows, and so it's not a dead rock. This is the atmospheric layers, and it shows the troposphere in which we live, and then the ozone layer, which is like this blanket that protects us from radiation from space, and of course maintains the temperature within our atmosphere. So it's got all of these different levels of the atmosphere. Then this is Earth's magnetic field. You have radiation from the sun, and that the interaction with the magnetic field of the Earth creates this magnetosphere, which protects us from a lot of solar radiation. Now, I've crossed the oceans as a sailor, and for me, the spinning of the earth from west to east and the movement of the currents around the planet, around the center of the planet, from east to west, is fascinating. It's like there's this incredible circulation of currents happening as you move around the world, and the way they hit up against the continents themselves, and then go into these gyros up in the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere, and then the upwelling of the South Atlantic, like Benguela current, and the South Indian current to Australia, and the South Pacific current to Peru, are cold currents coming from the Antarctic and warming up as they go around the equator. So there's this like convection as well. To me, that's an indication of a living organism. Then, of course, we have the heartbeat of Mother Earth, which is every 6 hours we have the tides increasing and decreasing, which as a sailor, of course, you really need to have an intimate knowledge of. So then the prevailing winds. Now, for me, this is another fascinating one, because as a sailor, you need the winds. But there are what they call trade winds, which travel across equatorial regions as the planet spins. Of course, they blow in the other directions in the North and South Pole regions. But I think of this as the breath of Mother Earth. Then I think of the water cycle, like the self-cleansing system and the providing of the water for all life on the planet. I think of the rainforests creating their own precipitation. Then I think of the veins of the continent. This is an image of the rivers on the continent of America. Of course, many of them have been dammed and dried up and destroyed because of Western civilization. Now, the Earth is spinning in space, spinning at 1,040 miles an hour around the equator, and it's traveling in an elliptical orbit around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour. But not only is it doing that, it's flying with the sun at 448,000 miles an hour around the spiraling arms of the galaxy. And that galaxy, which is our home, the Milky Way galaxy, you can see the little spot where the sun is out in those spiraling arms. That galaxy itself is flying through space at 1.3 million miles per hour. Now, that's an ecosystem. This is the universe. It's an ecosystem full of all of these relationships between all of these different planets, because the whole of the universe is this connected space with electromagnetic radiation going in all different directions, like waves and ripples in a pond. Now, at about 14,000 years ago, in actual fact, that's not a very accurate thing, but the concept is what I'm talking about, is men started to take the wrong fork on the road of life. To the left is traveling in harmony with the jungle and with Mother Nature and living in love, balance, and harmony with everything. But they chose to take the bigger road of the plunderers and the takers which result in pyramid schemes and at the expense of all life on planet Earth. But now, in our generation, we're at the point where we have to pay the piper. Now the choice is, do you want to live in a love-based world or a fear-based world? The love-based world is based on sustainable living, connected communities, relationships, giving and receiving. It's a fearless questioning in search of everything, in search of the truth and natural wisdom of nature. And it's about decentralization. It's about returning to nature and returning to regrow those ecosystems. One incredible thing is I posted on my Facebook thing, is they're growing this tree forest across the whole of Africa to try and stem the flow of the Sahara Desert, which is fascinating. So it's a positive, kind, considerate, caring, mutual respect, appreciation. This is the feminine way. We can either choose to change to that, or we can choose to stay in a fear-based world. All right? Fear-based world is unsustainable. It's taking, it's plundering, it's wars, it's pyramid schemes, it's male-dominated authoritarian dictatorship, centralization of power. It's based on lies and corruption, blind belief in and fear of scarcity, absolutism, everything's black and white, heaven and hell, good and evil, elitism, we're the chosen ones, we're special, and forget about everyone else. That segregation, us and them, divide and rule, divide and conquer, centralization of everything, so and so on and so on and so on. That is the destructive model of our paradigm of ignorance. What I'm proposing is that we live in a love and peace-based world, which is possible. Secret natural wisdom is in the details. You know, I'm giving you like these broad ideas and concepts, but I've actually lived seeing the igneous rock on the volcanoes that have just recently erupted, and then seeing the erosion and the soil and the growth of plants up the volcanoes that are older. And I've lived through all of these experiences, and the knowledge, the true knowledge, is in feeling the trade winds and crossing the oceans and traveling in the currents. That's when you truly know it. We're all connected of one universe within it. We are composed of that universe's motions, the vibrations, the energy, the change, the cycles. We and all life on Earth are expressions of Mother Nature and our planetary environment within it. We are the air, we are the water, we are the earth, we are the energy, we are everything we assimilate into our beings. We are earthlings. No one being is more important than the other. We are all part of this process of perpetuating and spreading and nurturing life into the future. We are all complex patterns of energy, cycles upon cycles, living our cycles of life for the betterment of life. Every single being is unique and special within their own rights and has something to contribute to life. Some of the rules of sustainability are: only take what you need, constantly give back, give and you'll receive, grow enough for others, and to ensure that there's enough for 7 generations into the futures. The ancients did that. Why don't we? So being the environment, what we do to the environment, we do to ourselves. What we do to the air, to the water, to the land, to the energy, we do to ourselves. We need to live in love with life, with others, with the environment, and in balance with it, and in harmony with that flow of life, which is the secret, is to live in that flow of life and to ensure that that flow goes on. We also should be striving for alignment with nature. Life is about, for me, living a happy, healthy relationships with all life and nature. There is no higher or lower, and no superior beings. We are all one family of life. What we do to others, we do to ourselves. Live your life for the future you want. Live your life actively being part of the contribution to all life and Mother Nature. Sitting around and waiting for somebody else to do it, no gods, no governments, no lottery is going to save us. We have to get up off our backsides and do something. This is another example of the ancient wisdom of love, balance, and harmony. It's called yin and yang. Balancing in harmonious relationships, the positive and the negative. And those teardrops can grow and become bigger and smaller. The amount of masculine and feminine in somebody is dependent on how big or small the dot is within what they are fundamentally. So there is this balancing of the nature of man and who we are and what we are. It's ancient knowledge. There's so many of these ancient natural religions which are very acquainted to this whole concept. Solutions. Political solutions, which a lot of people initially go through too because they think it will give them the greatest impact in the shortest period of time, are hard fought and often lost when some crazy man comes into power. Institutions really take a lot of energy to change. You see, the problem is the systemic problems of the institutions. It is their values and beliefs which are the problem. And if you undermine those values and beliefs, that the institutions just collapse like a house of cards. And that's why civilizations rise to the point at which they destroy nature and they do such horrendous things to people around them And like ancient Egypt, they collapse. They don't survive after the abuses of power that they do to people and to nature. We can vote and we can protest and we can create bills and laws and whatever, but this is all slow and it's necessary, but it's not the ideal way to do it. We can push politically to save our atmosphere, to save our oceans, our wetlands, our reefs, try and get everyone out of South Florida and send them up north or send them south or whatever. We can try those things, but none of those will really help unless we actually change the way people think. We can push for investment in creating sustainable systems, reclaimed deserts and semi-desert regions. We can push for funding to create sustainable communities and small farms. But fundamental change begins with us because we have the power. Regrowing our relationships, creating communities of different species of life, regrowing the ecosystems. We, the people, have the power of our purchases as well. Especially women. Women have so much power to literally get rid of a whole corporation. You just don't buy their stuff anymore. Boom, done. Okay, bye, you're gone. So the power of our purchases. We have the power to come together to create sustainable teaching villages. We have the power to raise our children differently. Now that is so, so important. We have the power, and women have that power. We have the power to influence others to change, which is incredibly powerful. Once this starts to spread and it reaches 18% of the whole world will change. Bam, like that. All of a sudden, whoa, we live in a different world. How did that happen? If we take the power of those who control us away from them and empower ourselves by growing our own sustainable communities, we change the world. Solutions, decentralization. We need to get out of the cities. We need to get out of those swamps. And we need to spread out on the land and reclaim our purchase on that land. We need to transition. So change our little things that we can every day and change more and more and more until we transition to the other side. And of course, there are many different techniques which I can teach you to transition to a whole new way of life. Bringing communities together is one concept. And bringing their wealth, like if you get your whole family and they all contribute towards buying a piece of land and then creating a life on that land, that's bringing communities together. And it doesn't necessarily have to be family. It could be friends. It could be people who you like to hang out with, to create sustainable communities and live together and create that biodiversity we need for life. Bringing people and organizations together. This is a great idea that Diane is working on through her website, bringing all of these different organizations. She's going to show us after me. Creating a feminine-led movement. There is this huge movement of women marching. But if that movement was focused to create the future we desire, we would be in a whole better place very quickly. Women have the power. They just don't realize they have it. Nurturing, caring, sharing, togetherness, coming together. Everything is really about relationships. It's about ecosystems. So what is our human ecosystem that has been destroyed and we've been turned against one another, divide and rule, divide and conquer? It's like, no, let's come together and let's create a sustainable living system. So raising our children differently, we manifest the different future we deserve to live in, teaching them natural wisdom, teaching them natural healing techniques. Now, I had 2 healers that were supposed to join us today, but unfortunately they couldn't make it. One friend for a long time and another I met through Global Online Speakers. So reintegrating ourselves with natural ecosystems and Mother Nature, and then of course advanced technologies do not last and are costly to the environment. Think of the energy. Think of how many plants and animals and human labor and the energy and the environmental costs in mining and pollution to create technology. That's expensive to life and to nature. And we can see it when they drill oil wells in the Amazon and they destroy large areas to put in soybeans, to feed the animals, to feed the unrealistic human meat consumption and whatever. All of these things are to ensure that the people can live in cities and that it can keep on producing this technology. It costs a lot of money. Empires rise and fall and technology goes with it. Like cement. When the Roman Empire fell, it took like an incredibly long period of time before anyone had an idea of what cement was again. So simple technologies like hoes and picks and axes and so on, all of those things will never go away because we fundamentally need them. Everything must be able to return to the earth, so everything must be biodegradable. Always calculate what the cost is to the environment and what is the benefit to the environment. So I think of reclaiming deserts with earth-moving equipment and so on. Now, the cost is quite large in terms of pollution right now, but the benefits to life into the future and to the planet in the future is worth every cent of the expenditure in carbon for them to do that. But using technology to go and blow people up and to have GAFOX and all of these stupid things where you just burn money and burn our potential to change is insane. So don't waste technology on wars. Technology should be used to perpetuate life. And of course, cities to me is the most insane thing. You build these massive cities and they will not be sustainable in a short period of time as you have an economic collapse or run out of oil or something, and boom, that's it, the city's gone. What we need to understand is that we are temporary inhabitants of this earth. We're essential in the chain of life, and every choice that we make affects future generations. And every choice that was made before affects us now. But we get to live on Mother Earth. We don't own our mother. We don't own the land. We just get to use it. We get to use whatever we receive through our life, and we live just to sustain our lives, and that's it. Then it's somebody else's turn. We are part of this incredible long chain of life, and future generations of many lives is much more important than just one of our lives. So to learn more, you can go to my website, helpsaveourworld.org. You can click on the movement and receive the gift of 200 different things that you can do to help save our world. And I think that'll be a great help to you, Diane, just to give you a whole lot of insightful ideas and so on. Then for more resources, you can read my books, and for more, you can do my courses. And then, of course, you can come to a retreat in South Africa. We have got a place in the Great Rift Valley where we will organize retreats so that you can come and learn all this stuff from me, actually in Africa. Then, if you really, really want to get involved in this and want to create a sustainable eco-village, then that's what we are heading towards. That's our transition back to nature and to the land. So my books are Beyond the Age of Ignorance, Gifts, and The Feminine Revolution. And Olga's reading The Feminine Revolution now, and we'll hear from her about that. Let's go to Diane, because I know you prepared a PowerPoint presentation.
I started a nonprofit, Earthian Stewardship, which, Dennis, our ideas are very much in line. So my statement was the advancement of education and science by collaboration to enrich the symbiotic relationship between humans and planet Earth. And so what I was trying to do is create a website, and these would be the different bullet points. And under each of these would be different ideas of how to help people collaborate more to have a positive impact on the earth. And so the first one was ecosystem history. So how was the planet before the humans got involved? So that would be one branch of this website. And this is just one example. And then next would be the resources and how to restore it. So the planet offers us all these different resources that, of course, as humans, we've used many of them and overused many of them. And through the resources, we create different pollutants. So another branch of this is going to be, well, how do we recycle all these things we've created from nature and turn it into something usable? And then so there's actionable tools, and there's a lot of people doing wonderful, wonderful things. So there's like the plastic bank, which is in a lot of third world countries where they bring the plastic to a place and then they get money to pay for education, groceries, utilities. So that's wonderful. Four Oceans doing a great job cleaning up the ocean. There's the 1,000 Mermaids, trying to enhance the reefs. this middle picture is an architect, and I'm trying to track him down because this was never actually built, but the reef system actually cleans the water. And then you've got a nice place where people can go to, have this amazing view. And then there's fisheries where the fish are replenished and protected. So it's a nice way of incorporating, humans into nature and us working well together. And then there's the science and the studies arm of all this, which is the institutional things that make it more difficult to change. And so a lot of things have happened with science and different studies, but they're not really giving us results. It's like they're just monitoring and telling us about it. So we need to get more action-based items. And so a lot of these science and studies that go into the governmental controls end up in a spreadsheet, and it all turns down to, well, how do you get funded and what did the studies prove? And it gets out of the action-based world. And so education is the key, so bringing the young people in. And again, we've got some wonderful people doing some amazing things. Urban Farming Institute, which is actually across the U.S. We have one right in Fort Lauderdale, and they're teaching kids on how to grow organically. And they have different, I don't know if you can see in the bottom corner, but they're growing corals. They're affiliated with different universities. And so they have a dinner on Wednesday night, which I'm actually going to go to, just to kind of help support the local people. So I just want to find a way to bring all these things together. There's so much more than this, but I just kind of thought, well, you just have to start somewhere. And so Dennis, thank you for helping me kind of get my brain cells going the right direction. And that's all I have for now.
Excellent. So, John, do you have anything you would like to contribute?
Oh, yeah. I was just listening to your talk. I just shut the video off for a while because I was eating an apple and I didn't want to disturb people with my apple eating. So, not that I wasn't paying attention. And I was just thinking of a few things while you were talking. One of the things was about when you did the universe, you showed the galaxy and everything. A very interesting factoid there. I don't know if it's related to anything you were talking about, but if you look at the constellation of Sagittarius, one of the 12 zodiacal constellations, is the Archer. Sagittarius means archer in Latin, and it's an arch. It's a satyr, not a satyr. Like I forget what they call that. It's one of those chimera, Greek myth chimeras, half horse, half man. The body of a horse, but the torso and head of a man. And he's an archer. He's got his arrow and and his bow. And if you look at the arrow, it's pointing in a particular direction in the heavens. Well, the constellation of Sagittarius, of course, and the zodiac go back well over 2,000 years ago, approximately 2,500 years ago, let's say. And the ancients supposedly had absolutely no knowledge of really the galaxy. What we call the galaxy comes from the Milky Way, which if you've been up on a mountain far away from the city lights, you will see what they call the Milky Way, which was a band of what looked like a thick band of just lights that were indistinguishable. They didn't realize that they were actually millions and millions of stars that they were seeing. It was just a band of, looked like a white cloud stretching across the heaven in a relatively thin band. And it was until thousands of years later that scientists began to realize that we were just looking at our own galaxy edge on as you look out to the heavens, because the galaxy itself is sort of more or less in the shape of a frisbee, right? And so if you look in one particular direction, there's going to be less stars. If you're somewhere out along the edge like we are, not quite toward the edge, maybe 2/3 of the way out. But if you look in one particular direction in the heavens, you're going to see a band going straight across. And that is ourselves looking out at the edge of the galaxy. But they didn't know this at the time. They just called it a Milky Way. They thought it was something way out there, and it is something way out there. But we're looking at stars in our own galaxy, and that's where the term galaxy comes from, because the Milky Way. Well, the word galaxos means milk, and so the word galaxy comes from the phrase galactos, which is Greek meaning the Milky Way, galaxia, the Milky Way. And now we call all similar formations in the universe galaxies, but it all comes from the myth of the Milky Way, because they felt it was part of the Greek myth that this is actually milk, across the heavens, across the dome of the sky. But going back to Sagittarius, again, all these constellations, they were imagined by the ancients as different shapes, different mythological beings, just by connecting the dots in a somewhat fanciful way. Different civilizations have connected the dots differently, but the Greeks and the Romans envisioned this Sagittarius, this archer. But if you wanted to, well, through radio telescopes and so forth, we can't actually see the center of the galaxy. But as you said, all our solar systems, all our stars, over a course of many thousands of years, also revolve around the center of the galaxy. It wasn't until the development of radio telescopes and modern astronomy in the last 100 years or so, or less, that scientists began to pinpoint where the center of our galaxy is. And guess what? Where do they have to aim their radio telescopes to find the center? Right where that arrow from Sagittarius is pointing. Isn't that amazing? So I don't know if that's intuition or something, but it's a nice little tidbit. I just thought I would share that.
John, that's an awesome concept. Just the whole thing of what the planetary alignment has, the effects that it has on us and everything. There just seems to be way more evidence than untrue. And Olga is a Sagittarian, and I'm a Sagittarian. Anyone else here? It's really interesting, because Sagittarians tend to be in search of, the secrets of life and all that sort of thing. We're just like crazy people. Anyway, so let's go to Olga and get her to give her talk about whatever it is that interests you, Olga.
Hi, I'm back. So I wrote down some things. I would like to talk about, I haven't mentioned that I have a company that called The Return. And the return is a big term, even though it's such a little word, the return. But the meaning of the return is actually incredible if you think about it. You can think about the return of our planet to normality, the return to our people to normality, the return to feminine to normality. This is the thing I've been thinking about, the word normality. It is so upside down right now that we don't even know. I mean, not we, but there are so many people who don't even know what's normal, what's not, because not normal is normal now. And people have such a brain fog to recognize it. So my thoughts were, while you were talking, Dennis, is Greta. Have you guys heard it? Mika, you're still unmuted, actually. Okay. Greta, have you seen that little girl?
Yes.
Have you seen Greta? I mean, she's a brave little girl. She literally raised millions they've heard the normality of her message to everybody, that it's a bullshit. All these, all the life we're living is absolutely not normal. So millions are listening to her. Millions are marching with her right now. She's a very smart girl. I think we have to kind of pitch into the movement and give solutions. Like, I think lots of people should pitch into her. She's a child. Yes, she's got the voice, and she's done such a great research and things, reading all the government documents and everything. But I believe if the growing ups who are literally conscious of what is going on, the scientists and everybody, if they would pitch into the movement, because right now is the momentum it has to go somewhere. It has to go to some resolutions. It has to go to some new creations. I don't know. It's just my thoughts. That's what I thought to share with you.
Excellent. That was great, Olga. It's actually really interesting. There was another young girl. Her father is an environmental ecologist, and he basically says by 2050 there will be no more commercial fishing in the oceans of the world. In other words, there's going to be a huge fishing collapse. Suzuki is his name. His daughter, when she was 12 years old, went to the United Nations. Go online and look for it. It's the girl that stopped the world for 5 minutes. She presents an incredible sort of ecological perspective. Incredible. So, yeah, check her out as well. So there are two youngsters who are saying, and I mean, even my grandson is like, what's going on? We can't do this to our world. Why are we doing this? I mean, for him, he fully gets it. But I go and I try and talk to older people and people who are so indoctrinated into the system and survive because of the jobs and the education they've had within the system. They are like, oh, no, if I do that, then I lose my job. I lose my ability to earn a living. And so I'm a whatever the person studied their whole life. And it makes it very difficult for adults to accept and change. But this is not a question of whether you want to accept or not. Either you accept or you suffer and you die with the rest of us. It's just like, this has to take off. And it's these conversations, it's you coming here and joining us and talking that make all the difference. Okay, Mika, do you have anything you would love to say? Okay, I'm going to go to unmute you. Okay, you're unmuted.
Perhaps next time.
Okay, no problem. Mercy, are you there and do you want to say something? Oh, there she is. Yay. Hey, Mercy. This is hi, hello everyone. Or clap, clap, clap. This is how we say clap, clap. So while she sorts herself out, I'm just going to leave her on unmuted so she can sort herself out. Anybody else who wants to contribute now is welcome. Just raise your hand and Alex, my daughter, just wants to say.
Hi guys, just wanted to say hi, how you doing? Nice to see you all there.
Yeah, she's not feeling well, flu, and so she really doesn't want to talk. They're supporting me anyway. They're here in the room. Let me think about something. Talking about motion, who we are. Like, if you go down into our cellular level, right, even lower than that, you just get right down to the subatomic level. There's a story I want to tell you about that. I was about 27 years old, and we had small kids, and we're walking down this dusty road with the middle monarchy. They call it a middle monarchy. It's green in the middle, and it's got two pathways. Cars drive down it. And all these huge trees on either side hanging over this middle monarchy. And I was walking with my wife and saying, I really need to know what is the essence, like what is the essence of nature and reality? What is it? And we went through this burnt out building and we're sort of in a very meditative state, looking at different artifacts from this burnt out building. But then we walked through that and we walked down to this little catchment dam, and the children were playing by the water, and my wife laid out the blanket with me, and then she started to lay out all of the goodies and everything for our picnic. Then slowly I got up and I meditatively walked over to the edge of this tall grass. And there was this one blade of grass hanging in front of me, and it was just blowing softly in the wind. And in my meditative state, I said, what is the essence of reality? Tell me, I really want to know. I'm asking of this blade of grass. And all of a sudden, I start to descend down this rabbit hole of like going into different depths of the seeds in this grass, deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and just like going down a wormhole into the depths of space of this tiny little seed. And eventually I reached this place where it could not go any further. And I looked around, and it was like the subatomic realm. And I could see this spiraling energy effect. And I was like, whoa! And of course, with this connecting to the universal, to this natural wisdom of nature, you immediately have total understanding. It's like, I get it. All of this time, I could not see it, but now I understood. And I was so excited. I jumped up and I ran to my wife and I said, Sharon, I know what it is. I know what it is. And she says, very kindly and very in a calm thing, she turned to me and said, okay, Dennis, what is it? You know, just this loving woman. And I'm like, and I couldn't explain it in words. And I know this to somebody who's a materialist thinks it's absolutely insane and crazy, but whatever you seek to know will come to you if you just focus on it. So it took me years of researching. I was a marine engineer, so I'd studied many, many different scientific theories and so on, and many, many different theories of many, many different things. I've been doing research my whole life anyway. And I just could not find it in all of the theories. And slowly but surely, I researched. I would gain a theory that would like help me explain it and so on. But as Einstein was presenting all of his ideas, he was saying things like E equals mc squared. Now what is that? E, energy, is equal to mass times the speed of light squared. Now why the speed of light? Well, it's light waves coming together and joining together and spiraling to form mass. He had actually said it, like maybe even before I even was in that situation. And he also said everything's made of vibrations. And for a long period of time, there was Michelson-Morley, and there were many, many theorists who are wave theorists who believed that energy is what forms mass. And it is proven by Einstein's theory. And there is this interchangeability between energy and mass. So thinking about that, everything that's our whole world is composed of is the spiraling, spinning energy which forms atoms, and atoms combine together to form substances, and substances combine together to form whatever it is that we are composed of. If you think of our organs and our whole circulatory system, everything is composed of this motion and cycles. Our hearts are beating, it's cycles. Everything is this rhythmical, cyclical motion, which is all based on the original motion of the waves of the energy that combine to form mass. It's these waves upon waves of energy that are all combined together to form who we are. And then we're spinning on this planet. So it's the waves are not just spinning like in perfect circles. The planet is turning. So we're spinning forward through in this like helical DNA type movement in space. So everything is combined of energy upon energy upon energy in cycles upon cycles and motion upon motion, which forms the cycles of spinning of the planet and forms the cycles of the cyclical elliptical motion around the sun, which forms the spiraling galaxies, which forms the motion through space. Everything is combined expressions of energy upon energy. We are these incredible energy beings. And there was a guy the other day who was saying that if you took each cell has a voltage of 1.5 volts and everything, it's like each one of us is composed of like 70 billion or so volts. You know, although, you know, it's all working within one system. We are incredibly powerful energy beings, and we just have no idea that we are. So Anyone else?
Sorry, can you mute? Sorry, Dennis, this is Olga. Can you mute Mika again, because I don't think she sees my...
Yeah, that was very nice, Dennis. Thank you. I don't know. It sounded like you were talking about inward journeys. That you know Gaia, right? From our
Yes.
Toastmasters group that when you used to live in Fort Lauderdale. She's still a member. She's talked about use of ayahuasca and things of that nature. I don't know if you were using that on that particular occasion, but it sounds like type of
I don't need
experience.
ayahuasca.
Yeah. But of course, in Gaia's case, there was a tremendous trauma in her life, which I'm sure you're aware of. She's also from your country, and I know you know what happened with her and the murder of her boyfriend when her home was invaded in Johannesburg after the fall of apartheid, when things were supposed to get better and everybody was supposed to love each other and so forth and so on. But anyway, that was very nice, and I've been actually working on dreams. Most people. How many people actually remember your dreams on a day-to-day basis? Like you do. Okay, of course you would, because you've probably trained your mind.
I had an awful dream last night.
Oh, really?
I still remember
Interesting.
it.
I brought up a good topic, but like while Mercy's working on her mics, but I started to. I'm now remembering my dreams almost every single night, because I started a technique that I learned about from watching a series of YouTube videos that my cousin sent me. And the technique is to actually write them down. And as you start writing down your dreams, you develop the ability to remember your dreams more and more. So anytime you remember it, write it down. And then you're more likely to remember it the next night or the next morning when you wake up. It's usually not the nighttime dreams that you remember. It's the dreams that you had closest to the time when you wake up are the ones that you remember most. Although you could remember some of the dreams that you had over the course of the night as well. But I've been doing that, and where I used to never remember any dream, now I'm remembering them almost every single morning when I wake up, and I write them down. I just missed one, but I know that the reason for that was because I didn't write it down right away. And then later on, I couldn't remember what it was. But I know I remembered it for a little while, but I didn't write it down. But I started this on, when was it? I've been keeping a dream journal. So I started this on the 20th, on September 20th, and I've been remembering dreams every single night, except for that one night when I forgot to write it down. But yeah, it's one of them was interesting. It had to do with, I was in a hotel room, and it was several days. I was in the hotel room several days, and well, you're talking about Einstein, Dennis, and of course the theory of relativity has to do with time dilation. But the same thing happens with dreams. When we're dreaming, I don't know if anybody saw the movie Inception. In Inception, there's a theory. I don't know if it's based on any studies or any research, but according to at least the theory that's propounded in the movie Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio, I highly recommend it, by the way. It's probably one of the very best movies ever made, if not the best. But anyway, the theory is that within a dream, what in real life, what takes a minute, or as a minute passes in real life, it's compounded by 20 in the dream. So even if you're only asleep for, let's say, a minute and dreaming for a minute, by our clock here on in the so-called real world, you've experienced 20 minutes of experience in the dream world. So you could have a dream, and like in my dream, I felt I was in this hotel room for several nights, and there was a painting on the wall facing the bed. And one day I'm looking at the painting, and I noticed that the people in the painting are moving and interacting. It was a couple of a young, what looked like a young married couple. They were somewhere outdoors, maybe lounging by a pool or something. And suddenly the woman slaps the man, and it's like it's began to repeat the same action over and over again, as if it was some movie that was being played in a continuous loop. And I thought, my reaction wasn't, well, this is very strange that the painting is moving and the characters are moving. My reaction was, that's strange. I've been in this hotel for several days now, and that's the first time that I noticed that the painting is moving. That was my reaction in the dream. You see, what's strange and what we perceive as strange in this world, we don't perceive as strange in that world. What we perceive as strange as other things. And then as I started looking at the painting more and more, the action got longer and longer. The action that was repeated got longer and longer. And then it wasn't just the slap. They started arguing, and they were talking, and they were arguing back and forth. I don't remember exactly what they were saying, but they were arguing back and forth. And I thought, well, that's really strange, because I've been here in this hotel for several days, and you would think that would have kept me up, or I would have noticed before that they were talking, and I haven't ever noticed that they were talking. But what I had then was another dream. It was the same couple in another setting, in real life, no longer a painting, and they were now an ex-couple, and they were talking about why their relationship didn't work out. And then I had a third dream where it was like a dream within a dream within a dream. And the interesting thing about a dream within a dream is an inception. Maybe it was inspired by that, because I was watching the movie the night before. I watched it many, many times. It's worth it. It's the time dilation factor compounds by 20 each time. So if it's just a regular dream, there's a factor of 20. But if it's a dream within a dream, it's 20 times 20. So 1 minute in the real world up here is 20 minutes in the dream, and then 20 times 20 minutes in the dream within a dream. So compound, 20 times 20, that's 400 minutes. That's about 3 hours or so. Okay. No, I'm sorry. It's more than 3 hours. 400 minutes is 60. No, it's several hours in the dream. It's almost, well, anyway. So then I had another dream where I was at a friend's house, and it was a lunch buffet type setting in a house. And we were talking about dreams, and I was telling the group what my dream was. And it's funny, one of the people in the dream was Eileen. Diane and Dennis, you know who that is. Eileen from the Global Online Speakers Group. And I was telling her and the other ladies in this, I think it was all ladies, it was a group of like 3 ladies in someone's apartment where we were having lunch, about this dream that I had and how strange it was. So yes, you can have quite elaborate dreams if you start writing them down. Yeah, and maybe that means something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I can help you a lot with that. Let's just see if Mercy's sound is working. Mercy.
Oh, good.
No.
Oh well. Well, maybe we can talk about Dennis. Maybe okay. you can interpret our dreams.
Carry on with the dreams. Mercy,
and then you can ask Olga what her dream was.
Okay. All right. So first of all, I learned many years ago that to get your dreams from that dream zone into this zone, the best thing to do is to repeat the dreams like from start to finish in your head. And as you're going through it, get a point, like a red door in the sort of beginning of the dream, and then a duck in the middle of the dream, and something else at the end of the dream. So now you have a sequence, the red door, the duck, and whatever it is at the end of the dream. So you have this sequence of events. Now, when you are waking up, all you have to do is focus on those 3 things. And as you come into this conscious world, your I think it's your beta brain rhythms change to your alpha brain rhythms, which are different, and that's the difference between consciousness and sleep state. So because of these, I'm not sure which one's which, I can't remember anymore. But so you're changing your brain rhythms, and to get those links back to that state and to that part of your mind, you have to have those links. So you come out, and then you write down those 3 links, whatever they were, and then, because you've got that connection back to that part of your mind, you can now expand and write the stories on those parts of your dreams. Now, another important thing to remember is the art of practicing this dream writing that I did. Is in the beginning I used to have books everywhere, like a book right next to my bed and a pen, and I'd keep my eyes closed, so I stayed in the dream state, and then I would just start writing. Right. And of course, I'd end up with the core of what I wanted, and then of course I could expand on that later, but still in that dream state. So now I then took it another step further as I started to learn to type. So I know that the thing that influences your dream state and changes your state of consciousness is the amount of light that comes into your eyes. So I sleep with an eye patch, which puts me into that dark tunnel of sleep where there's no light coming in and I'm fully dreaming. Then when I wake up, I might have to switch my computer on, but I keep my eyes shut and I feel on my computer and I switch it on and I feel for where my keyboard is. And if I need to open an eye slightly, I just crack it open just enough to find out, where I am or whatever. But I immediately close it. And the whole idea is to stay in that dream state. And I have literally spent days and days and days and days throughout my life actually typing in the dream state. And the amount of wisdom and insight and incredible stuff that comes to your dreams is unbelievable. It's so much clarity. And another thing that I do is if I want to know something, I prepare myself the night before by reading or researching or thinking about a particular topic. Then in the morning, in the early hours of the morning, the clarity comes to me of exactly what I needed to know. It's mind-blowing. It's just like, wow. And it's so succinct. It's just like, bam, 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 bam. These are the points you need, that you asked for. It's yours, It's like, there's like this universal wisdom or Acacia files or whatever, and you just tap right into it by focusing on it, and it downloads to you. It's absolutely incredible. Then another thing is what you're saying is these dreams that you're having generally have symbolic meaning. And if you are having relationship issues, then you might find that plays out in these two people having an argument and whatever. If you no judgment, because only you can actually tell what it is, because you have your life's experience to go by to be able to interpret your dreams. There are many people who have written books on how to interpret your dreams, and certain things mean certain things and so on. But I think in some cases that is the case. So you can read books on that. But really, I think when you start to get to all of these other different complex aspects, one of them is the housekeeping of life. It's literally what's happening is you've downloaded all of this information during the day, and when you go into your dream state, your mind is sorting out all of the things, and you basically reduce the amount of information each night that you take on as being your memories and so on, and the rest is just like dumped. So there's so many aspects to dreams. It's brilliant. I absolutely love dreams. Anyway, I can carry on and on. All right, so Mercy, no luck yet? Oh, shame. But I'm sure it was interesting. So anyone else? We've got 6 minutes to get to the end of our formal time of the meeting. If you want to carry on talking, I'm here.
Yeah, I would like to just say about dreams too,
Yes,
very
go
quickly.
ahead.
So first of all, I love interpret dreams. I can do it for other people very easily. For myself, I think I get sometimes lost in some things, but my awful dream was about my ex, and I was thinking, why am I doing it? I don't want to do it in my dream. So, and I know why. I woke up and I was like, I know for sure why. But I did have a dream before September 11th. That night, September 11th, I had a dream about Russian rocket being blown up in space, and all the debris were falling down. And I literally saw September 11th, how people were running away. We were all running away from all those things piling down on us. So it was incredible. I was like, oh my gosh, I just had a dream. But also I have lucid dreams, which are, I messed up my sleep and my dreams, 5 years of not sleeping with nursing the kids. So I did not have dreams for a long time. It took me a while to get back into the state of dreaming. I also used to take naps, and I loved it. I love that deep during the day sleep. But then after my sleep got messed up with the children, I'm afraid to go to sleep during the day because I have absolutely awful lucid dreams where you don't know if it's real or not. So I rarely sleep during the day now. But again, I do have those lucid dreams where they're absolutely realistic. You're there, the moment that you're asleep, that you can't lift your head up, but you're trying, and then you pop out of your body, like stuff like that. I want to tell to John, I learned with a shamanic teacher, and what he taught me about dreams, how to remember the dreams. I have not done it much. I've done it a few times, but then I just would forget. He said, if you fall asleep like that, crisscross your arms and fall asleep that way, you will remember dreams too. So try that and see how that works.
Okay, Mika, do you want to say anything about anything?
I just heard about dreaming, that some people who passed away can visit you in your dream. I don't know if it's true.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But I don't know a lot about dreaming. I know for some years I never dreamed. Now I dream again. It's strange. I can explain it. My daughter, when her dad passed away, she had like for 5 months nightmares, and she could remember every detail. So from the hospital, but now it's completely over. I think time is healing, but I don't know how she could survive with these dreams, because she was at university, so I think she must have got an ordeal. But
Wow.
yeah, I think when you go through dramas in your life, sometimes you have the strange dreams.
Yeah, yeah. It's actually really interesting about people passed on and ancestors coming back and so on. After my wife passed, I had many experiences of her coming back and actually physically being with me. And so I can tell you those stories if anyone else is interested sometime in the future. But we've got 2 minutes left. So anyone else want to say anything of interest?
If anybody knows how to edit video to make a nice YouTube video, any recommendation, that would be great.
Diane, you can use the Microsoft Movie Maker. I think it used to be free though. I think you have to pay for it now. Unfortunately, it used to be free, and now you have to pay for it. But that's what I used to use when I edited video. The Microsoft Movie Maker. Sorry.
I use Camtasia. I use Camtasia. And
is it free?
No, Camtasia I had to pay for. But I know that because you use Apple, there is an Apple program, and supposedly it is free, and it's exceptional. Supposedly Apple is so much better with graphics than.
Yeah. Okay, I have to go to the Apple store then. Cool.
All right. Well, that's it.
Thank you all.
It was wonderful having you all here. Some great input. And Mercy, any luck yet? No. Okay. Well, if I can just speak for Mercy, she actually lives in that Miami region, and she's just last year or so she qualified as and is registered as an acupuncturist, and she when I have any herbal problems or medical problems, she sends me these little herbal combinations that to help heal me. She's like a born healer. And for me, one of the most critically important things is what we're teaching here is about healing our world and healing humanity's way of behaving in the world. But so many of these unconventional healers are part of this huge healing mechanism, the herbal remedies and the ancient healing modalities are fundamentally important to our future, where modern medicine is more focused on the symptoms and give you a pill or an antibiotic or whatever, instead of dealing with the cause of the problem. So my whole philosophy is about dealing with the cause of why humanity is in the trouble it's in, and of course her whole healing modality is dealing with the actual biological causes, like creating balance through using herbs and the meridians and so on, through acupuncture. So I think there's this whole lot of ancient, feminine, natural wisdom that needs to be brought forward and pulled together and to create this healing community and the healing of our planet. So thank you so much, everyone. If anyone wants to stay, they're welcome to stay, and I'll talk about anything. But if you want to leave, now's the time.
Okay. Bye-bye, guys.
Go well. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Diane. Nice to meet you. Bye, Diane.
It's a pleasure.
A good one. Sweet dreams. Bye-bye.